Welcome everyone to my channel. My name is Tim Russell. I'm the president of Hyperpreterism, Honorary Doctorates, and Other Funny Stuff Research Institute in Ardmore, Alabama. Today we're going to take another look at the challenge of Christ. That doctrine that's made up by Don K. Preston and has no biblical standing. And but I'm going to try to keep this a short video. We're going to take a look at what he's repeated now for going on 6 years. And for whatever reason, he feels like his listeners need to be, they need to have John 10:37 uh, drilled into their skull. But the thing is, it's not John 10:37 as he claims. It's it's his own verse that he has made up. And I'll show you what I'm talking about, which y'all know what I'm talking about. I've pointed out each time how he misquotes Jesus, and he does not care. He does not care. He has seen my videos. He has commented on a couple of them. Then he would pretend that he don't know I exist, and then he'd say I'm stalking him. But this challenge of Christ is so ridiculous. It's based on one verse that he has twisted out of context and misquoted Jesus on. And, then he'll get mad that I pointed out, and he'll say, well, Jesus is not a 5'5" Jewish man riding on the clouds. This guy is, I'll just let y'all decide. His, his viewers, his followers, they don't care. They don't even know what John 10:37 says. They just want to know what Don K. Preston tells them. But I have a few people that listen, and they comment to me, and in fact, a couple of them said, I think Don K. Preston is stalking you because he, maybe he is, I don't know. But this John 10:37 drives me batty because he so nonchalantly misquotes Jesus and acts like he knows his followers don't care. The people who follow him don't open their Bibles. That's why. And those who do, for whatever reason, they will not challenge him. It's like he's John Gotti or something. He had threatened me before that he wasn't going to tolerate it anymore. Me challenging him. What are you going to do? I made a little short clip of him talking like the Godfather. Going to make you an offer he can't refuse. Yeah, bring it on, Don. I called him Don Corleone for a while. But anyway, I'll show you what I'm talking about. And after I play what he misquotes Jesus with, I'm going to play a clip of him before. Well, let me play this, and then I'll point it out in just a minute.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me again today here on Now TV. I have been sharing with you how important it is that we be able to answer the challenge of Christ. The challenge of Christ is, let me reiterate, because this is so critical, and we have new viewers all of the time. We're up to something like 9,300 subscribers.
Yeah, and you new subscribers, you best open your Bibles, because this man is deceiving you. And he has been claiming he's been quoting John 10:37. No, he has not. And I'll show you. But he has not. He don't even know what John 10:37 says.
And I have people ask me all the time when I mention the challenge of Christ. I have people contact me privately and say, what do you mean exactly?
And I know why they contact him. What do you mean exactly? Because those who contact him and question him have opened their Bibles. And and he's not going to tell the truth on what he tells them. But anyway, they see, hey, wait a minute, that ain't what John 10:37 says.
By the challenge of Christ. Well, in John chapter 10, verse 37, Jesus said,
Here we go.
if I do not do the works which my Father has given me, do not believe me.
Here.
Do not believe me for my words' sake. Believe me for my works.
Okay, now we're going to go to John 10:37 right here. Y'all can see that for yourself. Now he says, if I do not do the works my Father has given me, do not believe me. There's a difference between the works given to him to do and the works of the Father. The works of the Father, we are all to do. The works he gave Jesus to do, you can see that in John 3:16. Uh, and in First John chapter 1 or 2, I forget which, he came to defeat Satan. That's what he done. He come and, but anyway, John 17:4, he finished the work you have given me to do. That's what he says in John 17:4. We'll read that in just a second. But here's John 10:37. If I do not do the works of my Father, do not believe me. But if I do, though you do not believe me, believe the works, that you may know and believe that the Father is in me and I in him. And remember, two chapters back, John chapter 8, he was debating back and forth with the Jews. They were saying, our father is Abraham. And Jesus told him, no, if Abraham was your father, you would believe me. You don't. If you were the sons of, if Abraham was your father, you would do the works of Abraham, and you would believe me. But you do the works of your father, the devil. And now John's telling them in John 10, if I do not do the works of my Father, do not believe me. What are they? That's, like the Ten Commandments. Jesus was giving his disciples the example of how to do the works of the Father. He's bringing in the kingdom. And I'm doing the works of my Father. If I don't do the works of the Father, don't believe me. But if you see me doing the works of the Father, believe the works. I'm obeying the Ten Commandments. Believe that. Don's twists it up and takes Jesus out of context so he can apply it to AD 70. It does not apply to AD 70. John 10 does not apply to AD 70 at all. John 10, 37, 38, and 39 have nothing, zero to do with AD 70. Don does not know what audience relevance means. That does not apply to us. How do I know that? Because John 20, verse 30, he tells, let's go to that, John 20. We'll go over to John 20 where he's talking to Thomas. And he said, Thomas, reach your finger in here in verse 27, John 20, 27. And look in my hands and reach your hand here and put it in my side. Do not be unbelieving, but believing. Thomas answered and said, my Lord and my God. Jesus said to him, Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed. There is audience relevance. That's us. We did not see nothing Jesus did. We didn't see none of it. But we believe him. If we are Christian, we believe him. Don does not, because he don't believe Jesus when John in Matthew 24:36, when Jesus says they had asked him three questions. What's the sign of your coming? When will these things be? What's the sign of your coming and the end of the age? The end of the age, Jesus says, no man knows. Matthew 24:36. No man knows. Don claims he does know. It was in August, I forget when they claimed the Roman Empire knocked down the temple, when Titus knocked the temple down. Don claims he knows, but Jesus says no man knows. Uh, Peter says he will destroy heaven and earth. Jesus says heaven and earth uh, will not last forever, but his word would. John don't believe that either. Don twists the Bible to say, well, no, that means the temple in Jerusalem. No, it doesn't, folks. Heaven and earth's going to pass away, like Jesus said. And heaven and earth ain't Jerusalem and the temple or the temple and the courtyard or whatever they want to call it. And First Peter 3 is not, I mean, Second Peter 3 is not talking about the Ten Commandments and the ordinances of God being the elements. No, Peter says that this place is going to be destroyed, and it will be. But nevertheless, I showed you how he misquotes Jesus. And he goes on and talks about how uh, this is talking about AD 70. If I do not do what I say I'm going to do, is what Preston says. But y'all can go back 6 years worth of his videos to Now TV on this Challenge of Christ nonsense. They all say the same thing. Um, Brainwashing techniques is repetition, repetition, repetition. That's what Don does. He's, he's a shyster, a charlatan, a Jim Jones. He's uh, brainwashing you. But I want you to listen to him last couple of weeks ago. He says God cannot violate the laws of physics. The reason Don knows there won't, one of the reasons, not the reason, but one reason Don knows there won't be a resurrection of the dead like the Bible claims, and is because God cannot violate the laws of physics. Here's Don. Uh, I had, this is from my channel, but I had taken off of Don's channel, and you can go to Don's channel and see it for you, see the whole video. But here's Don explaining why there won't be a resurrection because God cannot violate the laws of physics.
And I've had people, when I ask this question, simply say, oh, well, you're questioning the power of God. I'm questioning purely physics. You know, there are certain things that God can't do. He can't make a round square. Cannot make a square circle.
Luke.
And that's me when I posted Bible verses to answer that. See, Don says God cannot violate the laws of physics. And he was talking about the resurrection. You can go back, he's talking about how we're all made of atoms and they're recycled and recycled. And I point out that uh, uh, John the Baptist says God can raise these stones up to be sons of Abraham if he wanted to. But you think of the laws of physics. Uh, this is where Don, he wants to pretend to be so scholarly and educated and all this. He's not. He's a charlatan. Just think of the idea of saying God cannot violate the laws of physics. Jesus raised, as Christians, we believe Jesus is God. There's the three are one. Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead after he had been stinking. Jesus was raised from the dead by God after 3 days of being in the ground in the tomb. Jesus was dead. He was raised. He was resurrected after 3 days. His body did not see corruption. That's because God is over all. The laws of physics does not apply. He raised Jesus after 3 days from the dead, and nothing had happened to his body, and he wasn't in a deep freeze. I mean, if you just think of that, folks. If God cannot violate the laws of physics. He cannot create the universe. That's part of the law of physics. Just ask uh, Google, can we create something out of nothing? The answer, according to the laws of physics, no. In a sense of creating something from absolute nothingness, like starting with zero energy and zero mass, it's not possible according to our current understanding of physics. But Don says, oh, well, God can do that, but he can't violate the laws of physics and raise the dead. I forgot what this. I asked another question and I forgot what I asked, and I looked up the answer. Yes. Does the resurrection of the dead violate the law of physics? Yes. From a scientific perspective, the concept of a literal resurrection of the dead would violate the known laws of physics. Okay, so that means the story of Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead is a myth. It did not happen because, according to Don Preston, God cannot violate the laws of physics. Now, you see that, folks? The man, the creator, and the man Jesus violated the laws of physics. If we are to believe the Bible, they violate the laws of physics. And Don says it can't be a resurrection of the dead because God cannot violate the laws of physics. Say God was in 5 dimensions. Can he square the circle or can he circle the square in 5 dimensions? Six. Who knows? Don knows. Don's the expert. He's the scholarly of all scholars. He got his PhD from, uh, or THD from Vision International out in California. A non, it's unaccredited, and they teach you how to do miracles and stuff. A miracle violates the laws of physics in itself. But forget that. Don says that can't happen. God cannot violate the laws of physics. Now, if you're going to listen to people who tell you that, why not be a atheist? Because that's what an atheist is. They base their beliefs on if it can't be proven with science, they're not going to believe it. Most atheists are that way. If you can prove to them God exists, they'll change their mind because they have that evidence based mindset all the time. Most of them do. Most of them that I know do. Now, some of them are just combative knuckleheads that they don't know any more than I do about the laws of physics. But I can look it up. Okay, does this violate the law of physics? Yes. Does that? No. Well, God can't violate, and Don K. Press says God can't violate the laws of physics. That means heaven is not out of the realm of man discovering it. If it's within the laws of physics, God is not in a realm that we can't reach because it would violate the laws of physics otherwise. If God's in a black hole, he can't come out. That just you go to looking up all that stuff like the law of conservation of energy. It was a couple last week when I was pointing this out. They went to talking about uh, violating the laws of God. He can't raise the dead uh, biologically. I don't know what all God can do. He created us put us in these biological bodies. If he created it, he can destroy it. That's the thing about the conservation of energy. We can create something out of energy, matter out of energy, but we can't completely destroy either one. It's got to be one or the other. God can destroy, he can create. God can create out of nothing a universe. That violates everything we know about physics. They're trying to figure that out. How did something come from nothing? And NASA talks about propelling a spaceship with 0 point energy, and that'll never happen because that's a ridiculous uh, study, wastes our tax dollars. But anyway, think about what Don says. God cannot resurrect the dead because God cannot violate the laws of physics. Do you realize how stupid that is? If you want to be a non believer, fine. And I've said over and over, I believe Don is headed towards atheism if he's not already there, because he brags about debating atheists all the time. They agree. He will debate, like Richard Carrier. They came in a debate agreeing. They both affirmed that if Jesus didn't come back in AD 70, he lied. They both affirmed that. And it was ridiculous. A ridiculous debate. That's why I say I believe deep down Don K. Preston is a non-believer, but he's making money off his books and this stupid. Well, he's all over the internet. Anybody that challenges him, he's stalking me. He wants everybody to know who he is, but then, well, he's stalking me. But as I pointed out, I was told by one, seriously, I think he's stalking you because, hey, Don, you don't know it, but I know a couple of your buddies, and it ain't right of them to talk about you behind your back, and it's not right, and I told them so. I said, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Whatever you got to say, I don't want to hear it. And I hadn't heard from them since. But it is what it is. But anyway, folks, if you can't quote Jesus correctly in John 10:37, and then he can so pompously and arrogantly say God cannot violate the law of physics, where was Don when God created the universe? Don doesn't know nothing. None of us. We know nothing. What we know is foolishness compared to him, as far as carnal and scientific knowledge goes. He gave us his word. That's what we need to know. That's what will save our souls. And then one day when he is revealed, we will be like him. That's what we're promised. Except Don says, no, that's impossible because there's not going to be a resurrection. And, if you'll read Revelation 20, 21, 22, those three chapters, talks about after the end, when death and Hades and all is thrown into the lake of fire and heaven's brought to earth, a new creation. The hyper-preterists claim, well, when I die, I go to heaven. Well, no, heaven is here on earth. When you die, it's over with. There's nothing left. We're promised heaven. They say heaven's here. And once, the death was cast into the lake of fire, but yeah, we still see dying. And, well, they said, well, that's talking about spiritual death. Well, okay, nobody can spiritually die anymore. And so they are in an infinite retarded loop and can't get out of it. But it goes back when Don said God cannot violate the laws of physics. I said to myself, well, that explains a whole lot about these guys. They don't view God and all of the aspects of God. They don't picture it in their minds. It's way out of our understanding. Their concept of God is way different from what I've always thought of God as. He's all knowing. He can be three persons in one. He can be in all. He can be everywhere at once. He can be any time at once. God is everywhere and God is all knowing and all that, but he can't violate the laws of physics, according to Don K. Preston. That's a big reason why there's such a thing as hyperpreterism. The Bible is, when it talks about the resurrection of the dead, it's like the Greeks that Paul preached to. Most of them, some believe, but most of them, when he got to that, it was foolishness to them, and they left. And when he taught them the resurrection of the dead, oh, that's stupid. That's the way Don and these hyper preterists view the resurrection. It's foolishness. God cannot violate the laws of physics. So anytime Don's telling you something, keep that in mind. He says God is within the realm that we're in. Keep that in mind. Because if he can't violate the laws of physics, I mean, it's just stupid. It is. It's ridiculous. Uh, if you're a believer, if you believe in Christ, he raised Lazarus. He violated the laws of physics. But then Don said, well, that was a figurative language. That was, you got to think like an ancient Jew. Anyway, that's all I got, folks. And I've talked long enough. And I appreciate you listening. And I'm going to post one of my songs at the end of this. And I want y'all to go to my new YouTube channel where I'm going to be putting my music. It's Tim Russell Music on YouTube. Just search it. I want you to go to it and like and subscribe them on my songs. And I'm going to post one of them at the end of this. I got to pick one out. But thank you for listening, and I'll see y'all next time.
Staring out a high-rise window, her thoughts are miles away. She may be stuck in Reno. In her heart she will not stay. Was she wrong? Does she even care? She knows she's got to stay. It's written though her mind is miles away. Her heart left Reno yesterday, but her mind is not that strong. She tells herself just one more day, so tomorrow she's going home. Her heart is already gone. Her mind may be one more day. Like yesterday, she's not that strong, so tomorrow she's going home. Her heart left Reno yesterday, but her mind is not that strong. She tells herself just one more day, so tomorrow she's going home. Her heart has already gone. Her mind may be one more day. Like yesterday, she's not that strong, so tomorrow she's gone.